Hey, what's happening, guys? So, we've got a brand new episode of Eastman's Life of a Bowhunter. So, this is the podcast I do with Dan Pickar. Well, I was gone and out of the office, and so Dan sat down with Todd Helms. So, Todd Helms is our managing editor over at Eastman's, an avid backcountry hunter. And so these guys have an engaging conversation. So, I don't know if it's quite an argument, but it's quite the back and forth about archery hunting, rifle hunting, ethics. It was a great conversation, so I wanted to release it to you guys here on Eastman's Life of a Bowhunter, and so we'll get into their conversation. Just wanted to throw an intro on this thing and let you guys know what we were getting into and what you guys were listening to. And after I finish up that, we'll get into Todd Helms and Dan Pickar on Life of a Bowhunter. So, I want to thank a couple sponsors for today's show. I want to thank Yeti. Yeti builds the best coolers on the planet. Man, I've had mine for so many years, and it just still performs. And I carry a hard cooler in my truck. I like to be able to put quarters in there, put meat in there, keep all my food for the entire hunt. I have a white one, keeps ice so long in that thing, and it's been the backbone of my Western hunting for, like I say, the last 15, maybe even 20 years. So a great cooler. Check out their different models, different sizes. I also use their soft coolers constantly. So their soft cooler, it helps me travel with meat, like bringing back axis deer from Hawaii. Keeps ice a long time. I also use one of the smaller, it's like the square shape. I use that cooler for like my lunch every day. I've been using it for fishing a ton. I'll also bring it with me when I'm traveling to be able to bring healthy food, able to bring fruits and berries and everything I need. So just awesome products. Also, their tumblers. They use their coffee cups constantly. And then I love having an insulated water bottle. So on these hot weather hunts, I can just keep my liquid cooler. It helps cool me down. And I just don't like drinking warm water. But they just have a bunch of different products, the best products on the market. Really want to try out their new cast iron pan, so I'll be getting one of those. But everything made from Yeti is built quality. They stand behind their products. So if you're in the market for anything to keep your stuff cold, to keep meat cold, whatever it is, make sure to go check out Yeti. And we appreciate their support on the podcast. I also want to thank Eberly Stock. So Eberly Stock, they're a huge supporter of the podcast. I really like these guys. They have really stepped up their game as far as packs are concerned. They're competing with all the top name brands, building really good, durable packs that pack the weight right. I love, like last year, they came out with that new mod frame. I used it for the entire season. I used the Brooks bag on it, which is a giant 7,000 cubic inch bag. It just did great for all my backpacking trips. Great load lifters on this thing to really pull the weight off your shoulders. Hip tighteners, a redesigned hip belt. It's got a meat shelf in between the bag and the frame where you can put meat. This thing was just a game changer for me last year, and I loved it. This year, they came out with their new Brute Series packs. Can't wait to get one of these things in my hand. So I looked at it, tried it out at the expo, got to see it in person, but I'm yet to use it on a trip. But these are really well-designed pack frames, and they're a one-size dual, so it's not the modular system where you can trade out bags. They're set up for a certain bag. So they have a 3,500, 4,500, and 6,000 cubic inch Brute Series packs built on a great frame. It's got the redesigned shoulder straps, redesigned waist belt, just like a great, well-built, durable pack. I'm going to try out the 3,500. It's not much more weight for the 4500. I almost thought about going with that one, but I went with the 3500 to go as light as possible for day hunting, for weekend trips or short backpacking trips, to be able to cut my weight down. So excited to get this one in my hands. So make sure to check them out. That's the Brute series by Eberly Stock. Also the Bando bag. It's a fanny pack. I've been running with this thing a ton lately. It's so nice not to have my phone jingling along in my pocket. I'm just able to tighten it and go anywhere with it. It'll also conceal carry, so if I'm running in grizzly bear country, I can run with my pistol, and it rides comfortably on my waist. I can also carry a little bit of water in there, and just essentials I need for any of my runs. I also think it's a great stalking pack. So for mule deer, I like to be real agile, be able to stalk with that thing on. It's just great. I can carry my game bags in there, my knife in there, some snacks, little bit of water, and then I can stalk that mule deer, and I don't have to drop my pack, half a mile up the mountain. And if I kill a mule deer, I can also fill up a game bag and just carry that back to camp. So yeah, it's a game changer for a stalking pack. I really like it. It's called the Bando series bags. You can check those things out as well, and everything that Eberly Stock produces. So thanks to those guys for their support of the podcast. Make sure to check out everything we're doing at Eastmans. We have Beyond the Grid, the new series, which we're editing now. We have the magazines, Eastman's Bowhunting Journal, Eastman's Hunting Journal. We have TagHub, the Deer Collective, Elk Collective, a bunch of different properties to go check out there. So check out everything we're doing at Eastman's. Also, thanks to the support to Dan Pickar and I on our social media pages. We try to put constant content on there. In fact, I need to post something today. And yeah, thanks for these guys for recording a podcast and saving me a week's worth of work. And yeah, just really appreciate Dan and appreciate doing this podcast with him. So great conversation with him. I also really appreciate Todd. Man, he's a great editor and great friend. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this conversation. Let's get into it. So Eastman's Life of a Bowhunter. Here we go.
All right, guys, welcome to another Life of a Bowhunter podcast.
You gotta look at the camera, dude.
I guess we are videoing, huh?
Yeah. Try again.
Rookies. Director?
Rookies.
Hey, guys, welcome to another episode of Life of a Bowhunter podcast. Today we have a special guest and non-bow hunting editor, Todd Helms.
Oh, throwing darts already.
That's right.
Flinging arrows already.
We had a controversial subject we've been...
Wait, we need to stop, though, because you just labeled me. You pigeonholed me into being a non-bow hunter.
You have some strong opinions, and that's what we're going to get into.
I do, but I'm kind of like Quigley. I said I didn't have much use for a bow. Not that I don't know how to use
How
one.
many bulls have you killed with a bow?
I killed one.
Okay.
One with a bow. I'm not in your league. Not even close.
Well, I mean, if you... What... I was going to say, what makes you think that you can make, based on what, your credibility, make your statements?
Okay, so the statement that we have, that I have made over and over again, we're just going to dive in head first on this.
Yep.
Is that I think bow hunting is unethical, especially when we're talking about Western big game. Have I killed Western big game with a bow? Yes. Have I killed a pile of whitetails back in my native land of the upper Midwest with a bow? Yes, I have. Have I wounded some? Yes, I have. The reason I say that, and it is tongue-in-cheek, but there's some truth to it, and we're going to dive into this, is my job here at Eastman's is the editor-in-chief of Eastman's Hunting Journals, so the editor-in-chief of the Hunting Journal and the Bow Hunting Journal. And let me preface that by saying I like to bow hunt. It's not all-consuming like it is for you and Brian, Jordan, but I enjoy it. I spend multiple days, as much time as I can get away every September, chasing elk with a bow. I'm not very good at it, but I like it. That said, I see hundreds and hundreds of submissions to the magazine each fall. I talk to even more hunters than that each fall. And the sheer volume of elk in particular, we'll just stick with elk, that are wounded and either never recovered or recovered multiple days after the initial shot is taken with no meat loss, even though it's September in Arizona, is astounding to me.
Okay.
It's astounding to me.
Yeah.
And I will tell you firsthand, if I'm being completely honest, that growing up bow hunting, doing it my whole life, not my whole life, but since it was legal to do it, I've never felt as lethal. This is personal. I personally never felt as lethal with a bow in my hand as I have with a rifle. The evidence that I see from all those submissions, all those stories, talking to all those people, outfitters, hunters, is that the rifle is a more ethical means of harvest overall than archery equipment. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. In your case, in Brian's case, in Jordan's case, it's a wash. You guys are incredibly good bow hunters. You're incredibly ethical. You get the most out of the high-performance equipment that you use. Putting a bow in your hand is no different than putting a rifle in your hands. The ethicality of it is the same for you. Your average person who doesn't have a ton of time to dedicate to things, especially shooting mechanics, it tends to tip the scale towards being an unethical means of harvest, in my opinion. And opinions are like, well, your posterior...
Everybody has one.
Your posterior orifice, right? Everybody has one and they all stink. So there we go. We just opened the cage for the 800-pound gorilla and he's wandering around in the room.
Yeah, I mean, there's many different ways and many different arguments that I think anybody could make about hunters in general, rifle and bow hunting, ethics with both. And I would agree to the fact that, to a degree, bow hunters, you have to be a little bit more maybe intimate with gear and a little bit more time spent in becoming proficient with shooting. But just because that you can hit a 5-inch circle at 50 yards every time with your bow, does not make you an ethical hunter.
Not at all.
Just like rifle hunting, rifle shooting, long range shooting, just because you can hit a 10-inch pie plate at 1,000 yards means that you're an ethical hunter. It means nothing. So you have all these factors that come into play when you consider ethics, right? And so you can do all that you can do with your gear, like the best of your knowledge, pick the best bow, pick the best arrow setup and the best broadhead. And when I think of lethality, I'm always thinking about how can I make my kit, make my equipment more lethal. And that's the big one for me was the Evolution broadhead all those years ago.
Sure.
And seeing and I'm bringing this up, this is kind of a rabbit trail, but seeing an increased level of lethality. How fast is this animal dying?
Right.
How much did my kill zone expand because of a hole like this running through the body cavity of a big game animal? My kill zone got bigger than it did with shooting a small fixed head.
Sure,
so
absolutely.
You could say a small fixed blade broadhead is unethical.
You could, if you want to throw the term unethical around loosely, and granted, we started this,
jokingly.
It's a joke around the office, right? Because there's no doubt about your lethality, Brian's lethality, with a bow. You guys are killers. You're straight up killers. You produce results every single year, and there's a lot of people that I put in the magazines and that I read stories from and I talk to. They're flat out killers, but 9 times out of 10, it's more than the equipment that increases the lethality. It's the person operating the equipment. And don't get me wrong, whether it's archery tackle, whether it's crazy great bows, arrows, super lethal broadheads, or very efficient, powerful, accurate firearms, the equipment, capabilities of the equipment has come up over the last decade.
To help us be more
Right.
ethical, more clean, more efficient.
Absolutely. The problem that I see is people use it as a crutch.
Yeah.
Like, I can do this. My rifle, my bow can do these things. My bow can do this. But can you? You know, there's a world of difference between standing and pounding foam targets out to 80, 90, 100 yards and putting a lethal arrow into a bull elk at 18 paces when you're shaking like a aspen leaf in the breeze. A world of difference. And you can train for it all you want. You can get your, all these different things, but there's things that make you more lethal. Equipment is one of those things, for sure.
That's probably the right terminology. More lethal. Not necessarily more ethical, but yeah, more lethal.
Well, and like I said, the ethical thing is more to get a rise out of you 90% of times when we're sitting around joking and than anything. Because like I said as well, out of all these stories that I read, all these submissions I get, all these people I talk to, there's a large number of them that's one and done. It's one shot kill. They watch the animal tip over, they recover it, and they go down. But there's also a huge number of people that maybe don't recover an animal or recover it days later or make a bad shot and move on to something else. And the same could be said. So here's the deal.
I was going to say the same could be said
There's a
about
parameter.
long-range shooters.
But we'll get, absolutely. This is a bow hunting podcast. People listening to this are probably bow hunters, but I'm assuming there's enough folks out there that like to do both. Like me. I like to bow hunt because September in the mountains, hunting elk is a magical time. It's awesome. There's no place I'd rather be in September. It also extends my season. My life's really, really busy. I don't get as much time to hunt as I would like, so I take all the opportunities I can. I would argue that out to 50 yards, that's where most guys are pretty good, can probably place an arrow pretty accurately. Let's say 30 yards. It's the same with firearms equipment out to about 400. I see a drop off when shots start getting further in bow hunting than 30 yards. Stuff starts going sideways. It's the exact same correlation with a rifle in people's hands, myself included, past 400. Then wind starts to become a factor. An animal can take a step before that trigger in the final moments of a trigger squeeze or releasing an arrow. There's things, the further the distance goes, the greater the margin for error, right? But there's things that we can all do to mitigate that and create more lethality and therefore more ethicality. You just wrote an article in the latest bow hunting journal about command shooting and about the mechanics it takes to master command shooting and why you feel it's superior. A superior technique to the thumb release,
Surprise release.
A surprise release. So explain that.
Yeah, and we will get back to some more ethics stuff, but as far as command shooting goes, and I guess this is ethics because you have to figure out, you have to take the time and say, okay, what works for me? How do I act under pressure? Because your decision making ultimately is what determines if a situation is ethical or not when you're under pressure.
Right.
And that's what matters. It's your decision making. It's not necessarily, your equipment or whatever, but it's your decision making and your preparation for when you are in the moment of truth, when you are full draw with your finger on the trigger ready to go, or locked in your rifle with your finger on that trigger ready to squeeze one off. And basically the whole point of that is to master your techniques, because you have to lay the foundation down, and the things that you can be in control of, you have to be a master at. You have to put the time in, you have to put the work in to give yourself a chance at making a lethal, ethical shot. Mm-hmm. And command shooting for me happens to work with my mental processes of harvesting an animal, of coming back to full draw, and your heartbeat just elevates a little bit, and that finger's on the trigger. It's getting real. It's getting real. And okay, can you calm yourself down? And a lot of guys can't. I mean, it's exciting times, right?
Oh,
it's
man.
exciting.
That's why we do it.
Yeah, it is. And so the difference between command shooting and a surprise break with, back tension release, a hinge, a thumb, whatever, is that some guys struggle with target panic. Some guys over anticipate shooting that arrow going off, and in turn jerk the trigger.
They jerk it. Yep.
So that's an unethical shot, an unethical situation, not necessarily the hunter's fault. But here's the thing. This is why it's important, is being able to identify that, maybe drop your ego a little bit and be like, okay, I need to really think about this and figure out what is going to be best for me, what's going to work best for me, so I can be a more ethical, lethal hunter. Mm-hmm. And so that's why, talking about command shooting is just identifying what works well for me and consciously deciding when that arrow goes down range. And it just allows you to capitalize on more opportunities.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because, for example, if you go back and watch Beyond the Grids, there's a lot of these situations where bulls are walking through a gap, and you have like a split second.
Yep.
And so you're anticipating, and you're saying, right now the arrow has to go, right? And you're making that conscious decision, and your finger's already on the trigger. And if you put in the work and you're rock solid on him, and he walks through your lane, thunk, you anticipate.
And you're talking about index finger releases.
Yeah, so
index.
strap.
It's the same thing. That's what I shot. It's what I've always shot.
It's the most common, but it's the least talked about now.
I think so. And one of the things that you and I have discussed over and over and over and over and over again is it's no different with shooting a rifle or a shotgun for that matter, which I do a ton of. That's all. The shotgun's probably a better analogy because it's so instinctive.
Yes.
I don't see the bead on the shotgun unless I'm shooting a turkey in the head. I just shoot. But I still know exactly when that gun's going to go off. My brain is telling my finger now, bang. I swing and I shoot. It's very similar with a bow. I think back to last fall. I had 4 days to hunt. I went to a spot. I got into bulls. I had a ton of fun. You would have filled a tag the first day. You'd have been done the first day. It would have been easy for you. I don't have the instincts, that killer instinct, because I haven't harvested a ton of bulls with my bow, that when the first shot opportunity that I had, I didn't draw my bow when I should have. Looking back at that, talking through it with you, I should have drawn as soon as I saw that bull's legs coming through the trees, and he was close. I didn't, and I was out of position because I didn't react correctly. I had a shot if I would have been drawn, and he was 12 yards, quartered very slightly too. So, I mean, if I stick it right tight to the crease, I'm going to get everything I need to get. I'm going to get lungs, diaphragm, and liver, which is your favorite shot angle. Whether it's going forward through or...
Yeah, it's lethal.
You cross those three things, and that's a dead bull every time. But I wasn't drawn. But if I had been, I can tell you right now, there was one little gap that I needed to have been able to put that arrow through. And at 12 yards, I know I'm a good enough shooter to do that. But I would have wanted that command shooting. I would have wanted to go right there now.
And that's hard to do with a surprise break. I mean, you could do it if you had to, but it's going to be way more difficult because you're going to be like, okay, I have to shoot now.
You got to keep pulling, and you're not 100% sure, and then it comes through.
It's hard to time.
So it's way more. There's way more dynamics, and you and I've talked about this a lot. I honestly think, and I'm biased because it's how I grew up shooting and how I still shoot, but I honestly think that having 100% control of when that arrow leaves that bow is a better option than not knowing exactly when it's going to go. Because you have to maintain that focus and all those perfect mechanics. Talk about grip.
Yeah.
Grip is so ridiculously overlooked. And yet you had 2 different instances hunting last year with guys where they were over gripping their bow and it was affecting their shooting.
Yeah. Yeah. So this, once again, it ties into the ethics or the lethality of your gear. And I just want to reiterate that take this stuff seriously, because you're going to wound far less animals if you're factoring all these things in. And yeah, talking about the grip and arrow flight and consistency. And it's by far, from what I've seen, the number one reason why you hear or see guys can't get perfect arrow flight is because they're over gripping their bow and causing that lateral torque. And they say, well, I can't tune my bow. And, you know, something's wrong. And they tell me their specs. Okay, what arrow are you shooting? Okay, it's all in spec. It's you. I'm sorry to say, it is you. It's your mechanics. It's your grip, probably. It could be other things. But it's by far the most overlooked thing is your grip. And for example, I don't think he's going to listen to this podcast. I'm not going to say his name. But, you know, he's at the range. He's shooting. Everything's fine. He's encountering this bull elk. Calls him into 24 yards, draws his bow back, and proceeds to shoot. The arrow is just fishtailing like crazy out of his bow and sticks that bull right in the hip, right in the pelvis, just a pincushion. And he couldn't figure out why. What in the world is going on? And he's shooting a fixed blade broadhead, and so he figured it out a couple days later. He looks at his riser, and there's a gouge out of his riser where that fixed blade had like hit. It came into contact as he shot with the riser. And so he's over gripping that bow where that riser is being kicked out like this. He's gripping it this way, so it's being kicked out like this. So his arrow is clipping the front of his riser.
Yep. He's in effect shortening his draw length.
Yes. And so, golly, guy, you gotta pay attention to your mechanics when you're hunting. And it has to be muscle memory. And this is why practice is important. You just don't take your bow out 3 weeks before season and shoot a few arrows and go. Because when you're in the moment of truth, your mechanics
suffer.
They fall out the window. They're gone.
Yep.
And so you have to build the muscle memory, and it takes weeks. It takes months to really build that muscle memory. Because let me tell you, if you're out there and you're like, moment of truth, there's a bull or buck, whatever, and you're paying attention and you're cognitively looking at your grip and thinking about your grip, you're probably going to miss your opportunity at shooting that animal.
Right.
It has to be natural.
Right.
When you're in the moment of truth. So practice it. Practice gripping your grip correctly. Work on that one night. Don't worry about anything else necessarily, but hyper focus on your grip every single night. And I've done this before. You'll see it every time. You'll see beginners or whoever gripping their bow, and they're, maybe it's 70 pounds or whatever, a new archer, and they grip that bow and they get, and they go to draw their bow back, over gripping that bow because it's just an uncomfortable thing. It's an intense thing. It's intense, right? That's what it is. And so it's like, you're never going to be able to shoot an arrow straight with a grip like that.
So what does a good grip look like then?
Yeah, so first you have to grip correctly, and you want to have that grip on the meat of your thumb right here.
Right there.
And everybody has a crease right here down the middle of their palm. And that's what I tell guys, is if your grip is on this side of this crease, you're over gripping. It's over gripping.
Right.
You're implementing lateral torque from the side on your grip.
Right.
So it all has to be on the meat of your thumb. And let me tell you something. When you have a beginner or somebody new that's been gripping wrong for all these years, go to try to draw a 70-pound bow all resting on their thumb, they almost can't do it.
Right.
Like, it feels that uncomfortable. That's what's crazy, because it just doesn't feel natural. But if you focus on that intentional practice, intentional focus to put that grip correctly on your hand and draw your bow every night for a week, then all of a sudden it becomes natural. It becomes muscle memory. And, you just relax your fingers on the front of the riser so when the bow goes off, it doesn't fall out of your hand. Don't shoot with an open hand. You'll see some guys do that. Don't recommend that. Some guys do it. Just relax your hand. Just relax your hand over the grip and draw with it on the meat of your thumb right there. It makes all the difference. And that is step one to shooting a perfect arrow out of your bow and on the rabbit trail of being able to make lethal shots.
Right.
Because in that situation where you overgrip that bow and the arrow ended up in that bull's butt, that's not what we want.
Well, that is a incredibly detailed and excellent explanation.
One example.
It's one example. But I think that plays into my argument of why bow hunting is unethical. Is that most people aren't going to take the time to learn how to do that. They're not going to practice enough. Their life's busy. Maybe they're lazy. Maybe I don't know what. Most people aren't going to take the time to build those foundational mechanics. And so in the moment of truth, you're dealing with a weapon that requires a much more higher level of mastery. And that's what I see. That's what I see. And I can tell you flat out, was it 3 years ago? I think it was 3 years ago. I went to Alberta in September. Brandon Mason and I went up to Alberta and hunted black bears. We did a combo episode of black bears and goose hunting for wingmen. I started shooting that bow, and I've shot a bow since I was 12, and I worked on my mechanics since I was 12. I started shooting my bow in like May, and this was a September hunt, and I shot all summer long, and I'm focusing on those mechanics and focusing on commanding when I needed that arrow to go. I knew 40, 50 max was my yardage, 100%. And the shot opportunity I ended up taking, 19 yards. And it was 100% command release. Bear came in, I had to draw, it turned to go away, and I knew that when it turned, I was going to be presented a moving window, and I had to cheat to the forward side and shoot into the bear's movement, kind of lead it, if you will. And I made a perfect shot.
Remember my moose in BC?
Same thing.
That's what
same
watching
exact
your
scenario.
kill shot on that bear. It was like, oh, it's the same scenario. He's spinning to go, and you just
run it right up through him.
Yeah,
exactly. But that was preceded by months and months and months and months in practice, and not just flinging arrows. How's my grip? You and I worked. Hey, come watch my grip, and you're like, try this, and you tweak it a little bit. Maybe drop your bow weight.
So it doesn't feel so
hard to draw.
Intense.
Today's equipment is so good, it's so efficient, that I would argue that a 60-pound bow produces just as much penetration and speed as a 70 or 80-pound bow from 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever. The equipment's that good. It's that dialed. These Matthews bows that we're shooting are so efficient that if you master all the little things, the bow's going to do the work.
Yeah.
Drop your bow weight a little bit. Make it easier on yourself to shoot better.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Shoot a smaller rifle caliber. If you're afraid of the recoil on your gun at all, shoot a smaller caliber.
Absolutely.
It's not the end of the world.
Absolutely. I'd much rather see somebody 100% confident that they can place an arrow or a rifle bullet into a very tiny, very precise little pocket on an animal 95 to 98 to 100% of the time, because they're more comfortable with their equipment because it's not too heavy to draw. They're not worried about it kicking their teeth out. Why not? You're increasing your lethality, which in my opinion then is increasing your ethicality.
Yes.
The more lethal we are as hunters, the more ethical we are.
I think it's easier to pick up a rifle and go hunting, and
the barrier to entry is no doubt smaller.
Yeah.
No doubt smaller.
And I joke in my response back, oh, Dan, rifle hunter or whatever. It's like, yeah, I graduated from rifle hunting. I'm a real hunter now.
Yeah.
And do so. It's challenging. But it's just as easy if you don't do any work to wound something with a rifle
Absolutely.
too. In the multitude of situations, the old close your eyes and jerk that trigger. I mean, guys,
the nerves take over.
yeah,
guys
it's just
jerk the
it's
trigger.
hunting, right? Hunting
It's
can
hunting.
be
And you're looking
unethical.
at behaviorally different because I mean, let's face it. There's a reason they don't let us hunt elk with a rifle during September, other than very, 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 very limited circumstances,
Right.
instances, because you'd wipe them out so fast. I mean, if you think about it, even if I think about all the times if I'd have had oh my goodness, a old school Hawken muzzleloader in the September elk woods, I'd have a stack of dead bulls. But it's frontal shot here, and it's a weird shot here in the timber, and he came in, and all these little things that because I don't consider myself a great bow hunter. I've killed a pile of stuff with a bow. I enjoy bow hunting. I am not at your level. Never will be. And okay. But I work hard to be as ethical as I can. You know, I'm not going to take a shot that you would take because I know that my margin for error is a lot greater than yours is. Greater. I think I'm going to say smaller. I'm going to screw it up more often than you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just crazy. You know, I think guys use their equipment as a crutch.
Yeah.
Because today's equipment is so good, whether it's a bow or a gun, they're like, oh yeah, my bow's, I'm dialed. But we get into that moment of truth and guys cannot control, and I say guys, I mean like folks in general, cannot control their emotions.
Yeah.
And they can't make the shot. I don't care what you put in their hands. If it's a bow, if it's a crossbow, if it's a firearm, guys struggle.
And that once again is just another reason why if you're in the bow hunting, let's just say lifestyle or rifle hunting, just hunting in general, take it seriously. And here's the other thing, like we're talking, and I don't want to like say it in a derogatory way, but like the general public, right? And so, and this is my problem with social media is, you know, you see, like I saw a shot the other day of this Impala and they shot and it like ducked the string and everything.
Man.
And it hit it like right in the head.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I have a hard time like liking that sort of content because
it's not the desired outcome.
There's just things you don't need to post on social media that kind of gives a black eye to the lifestyle. And that's great. Some guys can take their frontal shots and shoot them in the head or whatever and drop them. We know that off camera that the amount of failures is probably quadruple that. But what it does, going back to the false sense of reality, is it gives the general public the sense that I can do that. I saw it on social media. I can do that. Billy Bob just shot this bull frontal at 35 yards and smoked it, and blood was gushing. It was so lethal. It was a short blood trail. But can the average hunter do that?
Not only can the average hunter do that, I think the better question to ask is, can the average hunter do that 9 times out of 10?
Correct. Yeah.
Because if you can't, you're gambling with an animal's life. You know, you're gambling with, and that's what I mean about ethics.
Yeah.
We get into the conversation of ethics. And if you don't know and because there's never 100%, so very, very seldom is there 100% certainty when you release an arrow or you fire a bullet that done deal. There's times when you let it go and you're like, oh, money. That was, everything felt right. Maybe the spin of the arrows in slow-mo, you know, it's like got it. But is it 100% of the time, is it like that? No, never. Never. There's been times shooting a shotgun where it was like bang and the bird folds up clean and I'm like, God, I think I got lucky on that one. That didn't feel great.
That happens sometimes.
It does. If you can't look at a shot situation and know that, you know what, I am 90% sure or 95% sure that I can make this shot, you probably shouldn't even try.
Yeah.
And I think that's what That's probably a better, back to the whole bow hunting's not ethical. It's tongue in cheek. I say that tongue in cheek.
Right.
I'm a bow hunter. I like bow hunting. But I think moreover than anything, if you're not 100% sure or even 95% sure that you can make the shot, I don't care what weapon's in your hand, don't take it.
Yeah.
Get closer. Move around, and I see it. We talk about it all the time. Bow hunting's unethical, and I jab you with that, and you're like, oh, whatever. I graduated from rifles, long range shooting, and I would agree 100%. I see it every year. I see guys out chasing elk around or taking shots on mule deer with firearms, and I'm like, what are you doing? That was 1,000 yards. There's a world of difference between banging away on a 10x10 gong at 1,000 yards, which you'd be surprised how many people can't do that. Can't hit it 4 out of 5 times. Can't even hit it once out of 5 times with a dialed rig, because there's the same thing. There's grip mechanics, and there's cheek weld, and there's trigger squeeze, all these different things that go into it. It blows my mind. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what are we doing? Are we that desperate to be successful that we're willing to wound an animal and have it run off and suffer?
Yes. The general consensus, I believe, is yes.
I do too.
You'll hear this a lot, is that, you say that, well, individually, we have to police ourselves and decide what's ethical for us as individuals, which is true. But I still have like a number. Like, I won't even attempt anything anymore beyond 70 yards. And you have to set a hard and fast number, because you can justify about any situation.
Sure.
That's
absolutely,
perfect.
Absolutely.
And I say this because I've shot a bull elk at 95 yards. And I'm not proud of that, really, because I bow hunt to get close. And was it a perfect situation? Yes. Was I a little bit younger in my journey as a bow hunter, as an elk hunter? Yes. Did I want to see what I could do? Yes. I looked for the perfect scenario, and I shot him in the heart, and it was a completely lethal shot. The bull went 60 yards and died. Was it ethical? No. That's not ethical. Just like shooting at a big game animal with a rifle beyond 500 yards, I consider that unethical.
Sure.
That's my personal conviction.
Sure.
And so when it comes to bow hunting now, you have to set a hard and fast rule, a yardage. Otherwise, you'll break it every time by justifying that it was a perfect scenario.
The ends justify the means. Yep.
And so that means in the 60 yards or less is what I will shoot at an elk or a deer or an antelope, whatever, and have that as a foundation of what I consider ethical. Now, you'll hear arguments where Howard Hill, he's launched back in the day. Ben Pearson, all these traditional guys shooting at like 70, 80, 90 yards. I that's great that they can do it. I question the ethics. I do. And I'm not here to police you guys.
Oh, no.
Or you.
No.
Or tell you what you can and can't do.
No.
I'm regurgitating what is on my mind and my heart when I'm out there bow hunting. And it always comes back to would Fred Bear be proud of me? For getting close. And he took long shots too.
They all did.
But I'm a nostalgic person too, and I want to make that past generation proud. This is just a small level of my justification on why I bow hunt. And when I'm walking these woods, like, am I doing it right? I bow hunt to get close. I bow hunt for the challenge. I bow hunt to hear that bull chewing because he's so close. Breathing. Like, hear him clearing. That's why we bow hunt.
Watching the snot bubbles
Yeah.
bubble in his nose because you're 4 feet from him.
Can I kill that bull at 86 yards on a no-win, perfectly quartering away day? Right. Absolutely. But do I need to? In here, do I need to? And once again, I think it's so important for us to evaluate, why are we out here? Why are we out here doing this? And I've thought a lot about this over the last several years on, why do I even film my hunts? Why am I in this industry? Is hunting being ruined by social media and modern day of my videos? But to me, my answer to that is, I have not wavered from who I am and doing it for who I am. And I didn't have any plans to get in the industry or be on TV. My life found me in the position, but it found me in the position because I obsess and I love every part of the lifestyle. It's what I live and breathe, and it consumes me. And I found myself in the industry. And one of the things that makes me cringe is I get messages, "Oh, how'd you get in the industry? I really want to get in the industry, man, and figure out how to make a living." And I think that's wrong. And this is my opinion. I think it's wrong because I think you're getting into it for the wrong reasons. You want to make money on YouTube, that's great. I think it's for the wrong reasons. This is my personal conviction. If you guys are doing it and producing videos because you want to make money and you want to be in the industry, it's America. Have at it. For me, I think it's wrong. And so I don't think that any one person, and I also would have to add too that, Eastmans has been hunting and filming since the beginning of time, before social media and before internet, the beginning of modern America, right? Like past, 1957, Gordon Eastman's out there filming,
Right.
making videos.
Right.
Mike was in there the late 80s and the 90s. This is before internet, before social media. We're not doing anything different. But with that being said, we have this massive responsibility of ethics and being a good example for the younger generation and not making those 90-yard shots in a perfect scenario. Let's get close. Let's hunt the timber and call that bull in to under 40 yards and shoot him in the timber. I do a lot of that now.
And that's changed. So I'm sitting here listening and I'm chuckling on the inside a little bit, because what you guys are listening to and what you're witnessing in this video is a more mature Dan Pickar than 10 years ago.
Of course.
You should be.
Better be. Yeah, that's what I was
should
thinking.
be, right?
Yeah.
There's no way we should be the same person today that we were 10 years ago. Excuse me, fighting a cold. If you are, there's something wrong with you.
Right.
We should always be striving to be better. I don't care if it's what it is, better dads, better husbands, better hunters, take your pick. This is a different person than would have been sitting in this chair 10 or 15 years ago. And I don't mean the whole industry thing, because you came into this industry the same way I did. I wasn't looking for this. This kind of fell in my lap, to be real honest. And I really enjoy it. I really enjoy what I do. I'm blessed to get to live this lifestyle. And I'm not going to change it. I don't want to change it. But it's not what I set out to become. And I think because of that, I do think that we have that's why we're recording this podcast.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility to promote ethics, the highest level of ethics. I don't care what weapon's in your hand. What are you pursuing? Are you pursuing meat? Are you pursuing antlers? Are you pursuing hides? Are you pursuing adventure? Are you pursuing a list?
Yeah.
Fine. That's your motivation. Do it how you want. But be as ethical as you can possibly be. Get closer. If you got a bow in your hand, absolutely get closer. I had a bull last fall. He was when I stepped into this little opening in the timber, he was 51 yards away, feeding broadside. 90% of dudes would have drawn back and sent one. And I thought to myself, there's no reason I can't get closer. It had rained the night before. Ground was quiet. I'm going to try to get a little closer. So I have a slam dunk. I stepped on a stick and he came unglued, That's the way the cookie crumbles in bow hunting, especially when you're a doofus like me. But I think a lot of guys would have just drawn back and sent one at 50. And for me, on the target in the backyard, 50 yards, yeah, not a problem. On an elk, when the adrenaline's up, in a surprise encounter, there's a good chance that I'm going to shoot him right through the guts. And that's not what I want. So I want to get closer. Plus, it was a cool experience to try to stalk in a little bit closer. I cut the yardage to about 35, and he had turned and he was feeding away from me. And I had stopped. And when I stopped, I looked down, and when I looked back up, he was kind of head up looking around, and I moved a little bit to get a shot opening, and I stepped on a little stick under my boot that I didn't see, and he heard me and was gone. The point is, I was trying to be ethical. I was trying to get as close as I could. Same way with a rifle.
Yeah.
Same way with a rifle.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, go watch the video on the Eastmans YouTube channel of shooting a group the size of the palm of my hand with a new 22 Creedmoor at 1,150 yards. The gun can do it. I can do it. I have the ability to do that. Is it ethical for me to take a shot on an animal at that range? No. Not even close. So why not try to get as close as I possibly can? With a rifle in my hand? Yeah, man, I want to be inside of 500 yards, preferably inside of 300. Be great. It's even greater when it's about 150.
Yeah. Yeah.
It ups the experience. I think back to the first elk that my wife ever killed, the first bull she ever killed. She was set up at 450 yards, prone, had him dead to rights. I think 98% of people would have taken that shot. And she was excited, and she was shaking. And she said, can we get closer? And I'm thinking, I don't know. Let's look around. So we start looking. It's a big gamble, but I think we can. She shot him at like 198 yards. And it added so much to the hunt because we had to play him. We had to play that stalk, and we had to get down and take turns getting into this draw and then get around and creep up and use the roll of the hill. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, there they are. And he's not there. It's like, what happened? Did we spook him? And then here he comes from the left to check on his cows, and there he is, broadside at 198 yards, and she puts one right through his heart. He stumbled around in a little circle and tipped over. That added so much to that hunt compared to sniping him from 400 some yards away. That's why bow hunters bow hunt. They want to be close. They're addicted to that. Yeah. And I honestly think, Dan, that every good bow hunter, like really good bow hunter, I'd lump you in this category, Brian in this category, Jordan in this category, my brother in this category, they're a little weird. You're all a little weird in a good way because you obsess over the details.
Obsessive, that's what it is.
You obsess over the details. You geek out on grip. You geek out on, it's just not quite perfect. I go in your garage and it's full of torn apart stuff, equipment and cars, and you're constantly tinkering. That's who you are. Yeah. That mentality makes you a great bow hunter. Brian Barney just wrote an article for the latest EBJ talking about who he is and his literal split personality disorder. Brian's just hearing this for the first time now, but he's two different people in his home. Yeah. He's fit dad and he's guru dad. Fit dad is the obvious thing. It's the physical devotion to the physical fitness so he can, at his age, he can still grind it out and do the things he loves to do and make sure. So he's obsessive about his fitness and his nutrition. The other thing is the mental processes, the guru dad side of things, where it's his mental processes, where he's talking about visualization, meditation. Now, granted, he flat says, he's like, maybe that's not who you are. Maybe, but this works for me. That's who Brian is. He is obsessive about that. Yes, you guys shoot He likes to shoot a surprise release. You like a controlled release. Brian likes a big long stabilizer on his bow. You don't really see the point in it. That's okay.
Yeah.
Your results, you are both ridiculously lethal, therefore ethical, and it's all because of your obsessive personalities about this thing that you are passionate about. I wish we could all be that lucky, where we're so passionate about something in our lives that we're just constantly wanting to improve, constantly wanting to get better. We're tweaking every little aspect of it. We lay awake at night obsessing about every little bit of it. I hope you have something in your, listeners and viewers, I hope that you have something in your life that consumes you to that level.
Yeah.
I really, really do. Because what a fulfilling way to live a life when you can pour yourself into something like that and then reap the rewards of successful results, where you go out and you've immersed yourself so deeply in the process that when you get out in the field the next fall, you're out bow hunting and the opportunity presents itself and you execute 100% flawlessly, therefore ethically. That's what I think we should all be striving for.
Absolutely. And it's such a great example because Brian and I are so very similar, but we're also very different.
You're very different too. Yes.
And that's the cool thing, is that everybody has their blueprint on what's going to work best for them. It's just a matter of finding it.
Right.
And the mad scientist in Brian, he found it. The obsessiveness allowed him in his life, him obsessing over this craft allowed him to find it. I did the same. I've done the same. I continue to do the same. I hunt a little bit different, shoot a little bit different, like you illustrated, but it's still different. And everybody has their way of what's going to work best for them mentally, because that's what it is. It's a mental game. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a great example. Brian is one of those guys that he's figured out the combination
right
for him.
Right.
And yeah, incredible bow hunter. And like I said, everybody can do that if you spend enough time. And I get it. Not everybody is going to obsess about bow hunting and let it consume 90% of their free time.
Right.
It's not the reality for most people.
No.
But to take it seriously, and what I mean by that is you can still really fine-tune your mechanics, really fine-tune your craft, but the limiting factor is how many moments of truth can you immerse yourself in? Meaning, how many times can you get close enough to an animal with a bow to kill it, to shoot at it?
Right.
And that's a limiting factor. I don't care how mechanically good you are. Like we've talked about with like target shooters, you can be great at the range, but you can fail at bow hunting. And so that's why bow hunting is such a lifestyle too, because you have to look for all those opportunities to, for a lack of better terms, shoot at live animals. Whether it's squirrels, raccoons, prairie dogs, off-season hunting somewhere in some other country,
going to Hawaii,
pigs,
going to Texas, going to
anything, doing all these things.
Anything.
That's why we've done all this. Brian and I have talked about this for years. It's all to prepare to come home for our Super Bowl in September.
There you go.
And hunt deer and elk.
There you go.
So we're all working towards the same goal, but it's getting that repetition, it's getting that practice, and that's just as important as your muscle memory and your mechanics at home.
Right. You look at any shooting game, whether it's 3D archery. We'll use specific examples. Let me back up. We're going to use 3D archery. We're going to use sporting clays with a shotgun. We're going to use NRL hunter matches with a rifle. They are all simulating hunting. And that's why guys get passionate about those things, is they're simulating hunting. The shots in sporting clays, are very similar. I would say most of the time are more difficult in RL hunter matches. Yeah, you're shooting an inanimate object, but you're shooting as close as you can get to a real hunting scenario. NRL hunter and 3D archery are so ridiculously similar, it's not funny. One shooting steel, one shooting foam.
Yep.
But holy smokes, the idea is the exact same. It's practice that's made fun, so you want to do it more and more and more and more and more. And I just think if you dig into the weeds on that stuff and you obsess about those things, it's just going to make you better.
Yeah.
It's just going to make you better. I remember thinking back to a very formative time in my bow hunting. I hate it when people call it careers.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not really a career. It's
journey.
Thank you. It's a journey. In my bow hunting journey, I was probably in my late teens, early 20s. And I struggled so bad with buck fever. It wasn't funny.
Yeah.
And I'd miss deer that I should have never missed. I'd wound deer that I shouldn't wound. I could pound foam in the backyard at 3D range all day long. I was lethal. But I fell apart in a tree stand. That's what we were doing. We were hunting whitetails. That's what we had, right? I fell apart. And I remember one winter after bow season was over, I'm sitting around and I was so sick of being a crappy bow hunter that I'm like, I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna change this. And I dove into exactly what we've been talking about. I dove into my grip. I dove into my mechanics. I dove into my anchor. I changed my release because I went with I bought a more expensive release with an adjustable trigger, and so I wasn't jerking the trigger. It went off with very little pressure, and I shot and 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 shot. And I'll never forget this opening day of the season, the very next fall, that October 1st, had an opportunity. Buck walked down to the tree stand, and I executed like no big deal. And it wasn't until after I got down and made the recovery that I lost it. I was shaking, I was excited, and I loved it.
And that's the ideal.
And that's the ideal.
Way.
That's the ideal. But my point is, it took me so much practice and so much, not just practice, because you can practice the wrong stuff and just make it permanent.
Right.
You got to make it, the old adage of practice makes perfect. That's BS. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Yep.
Practice the right things, and you're going to get better at the right things. And man, but I just think back on that, and I've still reaped the rewards of that season of my life, because it spilled over into the next year and the next year, and about a 4-year rip where I was pretty lethal with a bow, and my shooting became pretty much automatic. And then I moved out here and started hunting big game, Western big game, and very first opportunity I ever got at a bull elk, right through the heart. I haven't had a lot of opportunities since then, just for whatever reason, career being a big one, but obsess. And I think all the guys in these high skill pastimes, and bow hunting is high skill. It takes more to be a really good bow hunter and archer than it does to be a really good rifle hunter. Are you happy?
I'm happy.
Did you hear what I just said?
I did. Can you say it louder?
Yeah. What I mean by that is firearms are more lethal. Just hands down. For your average person to go out. Yeah, you're saying this because you're at another level. You're at another level. We just talked about grip. We just talked about all these different things.
When you say firearms are more lethal, I don't believe that. I would disagree, because when I think of lethality, I think of the arrow going through the right anatomy of the animal and a bullet going through the right anatomy of an animal. I think they're equally as lethal, because I guarantee you can lose a gut shot animal with a bow just as easy with a rifle.
Yeah, maybe.
Now,
I think the one thing
here's
the
the difference. Let me finish. Hold on. Let me finish this.
Okay.
Is if
there's a killing thing here that separates the two.
Yes. If you hit a structural portion of that animal, if you were to shoot that bull elk in the pelvis with a gun,
same shot. Okay, same shot. Arrow hit him in the pelvis, penetrated 1.5 inches. Do it with a rifle.
With a gun, it's probably going to break that pelvis.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to get that elk or whatever killed and recover it.
Not cleanly.
Not cleanly.
Not ideally. But that is what I mean by greater lethality. There's more power.
Good clarification. Yeah.
2 different modes of killing.
Yeah.
Fred Bear said it best years ago. An arrow cuts by or kills by cutting.
Hemorrhage.
Massive hemorrhaging, cutting. You're shooting a knife, a razor blade, if you will. It's got to cut and sever vital organs to cause massive blood loss.
Yeah.
A bullet does that, but it also kills through trauma, massive trauma, whether it's smashing bone, breaking down large muscles. Shock. And there's a myth. We can get into the myth of hydrostatic shock all we want. But that's so when I say that, yeah, a gun's more lethal, it is technically.
Okay, you got me there. Yeah. And I was thinking more anatomically what the projectile's hitting.
Right.
But when you factor in the structure, the bone structure of the animal, rifles are going to.
And I understand where you're coming from by not agreeing with me on that, because you're a really good archer. You're a really good bow
hit where
hunter.
you aim. You're going to be fine.
There you go. And it's the same with a bullet. It's the same with a bullet.
Yeah.
If you put everybody's like 6.5 Creedmoor is not enough for elk. That's a terrible elk cartridge. There's a whole pile of dead elk out there that disagree. You put a 140 grain bullet through the lungs of a bull elk with a 6.5 Creedmoor, he's not going to know the difference between that and an arrow. It's still destroying his lungs and his tissue, and he's going to die. You know,
perhaps
shot placement is what I'm getting at with that. You put an arrow or a bullet in the right spot, it's going to do the job.
And what I would say with that, just like a 6.5 Creedmoor to a frontal shot with a bow, you have a little bit less forgiveness.
Right.
So, yes, can you kill multiple animals with a Creedmoor?
Would it be my first choice? No, just like a frontal shot at 30 yards is not my first choice.
Forgiveness.
Yes.
You want to target like this on a frontal shot of an elk? Okay, like this. Or do you want a broadside shot about like this?
The size of a bag of wood chips.
It's about forgiveness.
Right.
And so, absolutely, a 6.5 Creedmoor is plenty of gun for an elk. Mm-hmm. And a frontal shot, you can kill them absolutely, very lethally. But do you want to promote that to the general public, to maybe the folks that aren't putting this much thought,
especially doing what we do?
Yeah.
You know, you talk about passing up opportunities. I passed up a shot on a bull with a rifle a couple of years ago with a 300 Winchester Magnum in my hands, and it was close enough. Wasn't too far. Was in my ethical range. He was quartered too at an extreme angle, and he'd been on his feet eating all night long. Now this is where we can argue about different penetration. If I'd have had the same shot angle presented to me with a bow, I probably would have had, in my opinion, that arrow probably would have penetrated better through that bull's stomach and diaphragm and into his chest cavity than a bullet would have. Because a bullet would have met all that vegetative mass, wet mass that he's accumulated all night long and gone and stopped. Mm-hmm. It would have mushroomed up, and it would have spent all because the way they work is different. I go back to watching a video that Fred Bear did of shooting an arrow through a bucket of water at a cinder block behind it, and his arrow went through the water and broke the cinder block. And he shot it with a I think it was a 30-30. And bullet didn't make it through the bucket. And he was talking about lethality. It's different modes of killing, right? Which we just illustrated as well.
Yep.
Knowing what you can and can't do with your weapon. Knowing what you can and can't do with your own abilities is key. If you're not happy with where you're at, get better. Hire a shooting constructor.
Yeah.
Practice. Have somebody break down your grip. If you're a surprise release guy with a back tension release and it's not working for you, maybe try the index finger release and try command shooting. I don't know. Maybe go the other way.
Think about this stuff. Talk to people.
Work
network
through it.
Yeah. Working through it. That's what's important. And don't be afraid to ask people for, go to a bow shop. If you don't have any other resources, go to a bow shop and say, will you help me? Right. I guarantee you they'll help you.
Absolutely.
Watch YouTube videos. There's tons of videos. You got to be careful. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube.
Right.
So just watch a bunch of videos.
You have to have some discernment.
Yeah.
Basically, I would say find somebody that when you're looking at their stuff, find somebody like Dan Pickar, who is a killer and who, through this conversation, has established that his number one goal isn't just killing animals, it's being ethical and doing it the right way. And learn from them. Find somebody that you respect their ethics, you respect how they do things, and learn from them. People might not be able to have you come over to their house. I mean, I have that ability. Like, Dan, come on over, I'm struggling with this. And you come over and be like, you moron, you're just, do it this way, That's actually been said.
I think it was dumb Polak.
Yeah,
no, not
Polak.
dumb.
Dumb Polak.
You Polak.
You're just being Polish here. I bring that upon myself. But if you guys can't tell, we go back and forth a lot. Dan's like,
we're practically brothers.
Brother,
yeah,
pretty
we're
much.
Brothers.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And we both have some strong opinions on a lot of this stuff. The biggest thing that we have in common is we're both passionate about hunting.
Yep.
Yeah, you like to bow hunt more than I do, but we still can talk about it, and I was trying so hard 2 falls ago to get a hold of you. I was down. I had a week, and I was getting my butt kicked by bull after bull. I was just nothing was going on. I was getting winded. I was so mad. And I called you and called you and called you. And I just needed to be like, Dan, tell me what I'm doing wrong. And it was just whatever. But
yeah, it's a journey, right?
It is a journey. And some of us are further along on it than others. Just the thing that gets me, that galls me, whether it's bow hunting or rifle hunting, or is people trying to find shortcuts, man. Because we're dealing with the lives of an animal. We're not shooting steel. We're not punching foam. We're hunting. And we owe it to those animals. We owe it to the sport of hunting and the animals we pursue and our fellow hunters to be as ethical as we can possibly be.
That's the intention of all this. And if you guys are, once again, I'm illustrating how my brain works, right, and what in my brain, my ethical parameters of how I patrol myself.
Right.
And so it might not resonate with everybody. And you might be like, you're kind of a jerk, Dan.
I guarantee you we lost half the people when I said bow hunting is an unethical means of harvest. And that's okay. That's okay.
No, it's
designed to make you think.
It's a good conversation to have. And as bow hunters and rifle hunters, as hunters in general in the community, we need to think about this. Everybody needs to really take a deep dive on ethics. It's just a fact. So thanks for sitting down with me today.
Dude, it's my pleasure.
We're out of time. We're already over an hour. It went like that.
Yeah, it did go fast. No, it's something that you and I talk about all the time. Get together and eat pizza and berate each other about our preferred methods of harvest.
That's right.
It's one of those things. At the end of the day, we're all brothers and sisters of the hunt.
Yeah,
we really are. And just because you like to bow hunt, you like to rifle hunt, you like to hunt birds, you like to hunt waterfowl, whatever it might be, we're all hunters. And we all got to have each other's backs. But one of the things that we all need to make sure that we're doing is to be as ethical as we possibly can be out there.
Yep.
And that comes through perfecting our craft.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And if you guys need any resources, as Todd said, I'll help any way I can. I don't mind answering questions on Instagram, Dan Pickar, my email, dan.p@eastmans.com. I answer back. I'll help you any way I can. I know Brian will. There's some great hunters out there. Maybe get tips from everybody that you can. I know, I think a lot of Remy Warren. I think he's the real deal. He's a great hunter. See if he'll help you at all.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a lot of resources out there like the Elk Collective and the Deer Collective. Once again, just avenues to help us to become more complete of our understanding of the lifestyle from the beginning to the end, from the planning to the meat care and after the harvest. And the collectives do that. It's just a fast-tracked way to gain knowledge and become better at what we're doing. So make sure you check those out. Subscribe to the magazines. Todd's the managing editor of Eastman's Hunting Journal and Eastman's Bow Hunting Journal. We're writing in there all the time. Listen to our other podcasts.
Yep, we got other podcasts. Yeah. I host the Wingmen brand, the video series, and the Wingmen podcast, which is all things, wing shooting, basically.
Yep.
That's a huge passion of mine, and it's fun to cross-pollinate, jump on each other's podcasts and have conversations and compare notes, and we probably ought to do another one about how similar elk hunting is to turkey hunting. We'll really get
That's another one.
We'll really get people fired up.
That's right.
That's
fun conversation, though.
It is. It is. So yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me on as a guest, and yeah,
it's a good time. We just need to thank a couple sponsors. First one, Eberly Stock. I'm wearing these new pants. I mean, I like them. Fit well. I'm a 31, 32, and these fit perfect. They got side zips, you name it. I've kind of been wearing these around town. You got your vest on, but yeah, thanks to Eberly Stock. Of course, check out their backpacks. The mod frame is what we've been using here the fall of 2025 and into 2026.
Love that mod frame pack.
Incredible meat carrier, versatile. Comes with a couple different size bag attachments. I mean, you can zip on anything that you want on that
Just
thing.
go to the website, go to eberlystock.com and check it out.
Yep.
Check out their e-mod line. They make phenomenal stuff.
Great stuff. Yeah. And then, of course, we mentioned too, Evolution Broadheads. Very grateful for Dale at Evolution to sponsor this podcast. We believe in the broadheads, and it's a pleasure to work with companies that we believe in. And we went to Dale and talked to him and say, we want you. And he obliged, and so we believe in the products that we are sponsored by, hence why we use them and wear them. And so just two great companies. Check out Evolution Broadheads as well. Expand your lethality, because it's so important. It's the biggest factor in the last 10 years that has increased my lethality in the field, is a bigger cut diameter broadhead. Yeah. I have all the energy in the world with my setup, 29-inch draw, 70 pounds, 93 foot-pounds of kinetic energy, 20 pounds more than you need to shoot a Cape Buffalo, according to the old Easton charts.
Right.
So lots of energy, no problem getting pass-throughs. Check those out. And I think that's it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching.